Main Event Madness proudly presents, coming to you from the land down under, Sydney, Australia, and Naugatuck, Connecticut in the US of A. This is Wrestling's Rope Break. Here are your hosts, Joel the Man O'Brien and Aaron the Mastermind Ramadanov.
Well, hello wrestling fans and welcome to Wrestling's Rope Break. Everything pro wrestling by the count of five. It is March 22nd, 2015 here on Main Event Madness Radio, and I am Joel the Man O'Brien, coming to you like I always do from the land down under, Sydney, Australia. And unfortunately, my co-partner in crime, Pro Wrestling Powerhouse's editor-in-chief, Aaron the Mastermind Ramadanov, cannot join us this week, but you can check out his one-man show that he does called the ER Report that debuted this week on VOC Nation. Now, the best way to find that is facebook.com/ER Report. The current episode is up there for listening. Check it out. You get all these ideas on and thoughts on this week in pro wrestling, plus WrestleMania, obviously. But today, we're going to be focusing on Wrestling's Rope Break, and I'm going to be with you for the next hour, talking all the major news, shows, and angles from the past and present, exclusively on Main Event Madness Radio. So what have we got in store for you tonight? We're going to be talking Raw. We're going to be talking all the ideas and matches and angles that came out of that show, and why I think Bray Wyatt should defeat The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. And then we're going to transfer into NXT and the power of being on the road for this developing brand. It may be a developmental system, but my God, you watch that show and it feels like a completely separate promotion to that of WWE. And I'm going to talk about the power of being on the road and how that's benefiting NXT. So that upcoming, we're going to be talking injuries in pro wrestling and how that can definitely affect the long-term and short-term promotions that it happens to. And then we're going to finish with just an analysis on big match builds. Obviously, you know, being on the road to WrestleMania, there's plenty of those kind of builds that we kind of focus on. And I want to look back on history and look at why some of these work and why Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar hasn't exactly hit the mark and how it could still hit the mark in less than 7 days at WrestleMania 31. So much to talk about. So listen, let's get straight into it. Last Monday night's Raw. Now, for those who listen to the show every single week, you would know that I completely and utterly destroyed last week's Monday Night Raw. It was a disgusting show. It really just grinded my gears. So this week, I want to be positive. I'm going to be Mr. Positivity this week when it comes to Raw because I thought this edition of Monday Night Raw was fine. I thought it was a good show. I thought there was stuff that I liked. It was simple. It was effective. Let's get the positives out of the way first. I thought Sting looked fantastic. Because obviously he's been wearing his massive coat to the ring every single time we've seen him. And this is the first time to see him, you know, like he's got a tight t-shirt. His arms look good. For a 50-something-year-old performer, he looked fantastic. And I guess it's the advantage of having makeup on all the time. You can easily get away with being a 60-year-old man if need be. But I think he's been standing strong so many times. Every time we see him come out of the block. So it was really good to see him get in the face of the Authority one more time. But one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to next week's Raw is that we're eventually going to see Triple H do what he does best. And that's beat the holy hell out of a WrestleMania babyface. And his comeuppance is coming. You got to believe that eventually Sting's time's going to run out, and I think it's going to run out on the go-home edition of Monday Night Raw next week. And for me personally, I always love a good heel beatdown. Aren't they just fantastic? And of course, we remember back to last year at WrestleMania 30 when Triple H just absolutely destroyed Daniel Bryan, how great that looked and how that was such a good transition point for that storyline. Well, I think we're going to see the same thing come next week on Raw. Rusev and Cena. Let's just transfer into that for a little second. I thought their segment was great. I think this has been one of the most consistent storylines leading into WrestleMania, and I have to say, the contract signing, it wasn't the most amazing contract signing, but everything about the patriotism kind of themes intertwined in this. The fact that Cena couldn't touch Rusev as he did the anti-patriotic speech in Cena's face. I love the fact that Rusev is just a full-fledged heel. There's no in between. He's not flashy. He's agile and he's quick in the ring, and that's a spectacle in itself. But at his core, he is a coward. I love the fact that he flipped the table and then ran away. That kind of stuff. That stuff that is so missing in heels these days. And I am looking forward to seeing how Cena and Rusev pans out. Obviously, I think Cena is going to be the one to defeat Rusev. And if you asked me this about 6 months ago, who would be the person to defeat Rusev, I certainly wouldn't have thought it would be John Cena. I thought John Cena would be one of the people that would lie in wake of Rusev, but it is what it is, and I think they've done a really good job in making this rematch feel like a really important WrestleMania match, because I know at the end of Fastlane, I was like, I just don't see this kind of interesting me going into WrestleMania, but it has. So kudos to WWE. They've done a good job here. And Cena's great with money promos and getting intensely fired up about issues, be it patriotism, be it revenge, be it trying to get a championship, in this case the US title. But yeah, good stuff all around. And Brock Lesnar. This man is always gold in a pre-taped environment. Put him in any video package, show stock footage of him from 2002 to now, and you've got yourself a money video package that hypes up anything he's involved in. It was fantastic. The way it finished, just Brock Lesnar just walking off the interview saying that's the end. Just simple things like that. The character is so well fleshed out and thought about. He is just the no-nonsense badass that walks through his day, pisses off whoever he wants, and doesn't give a shit about it. Fantastic. He's such an easy heel to hate. WWE needs to do every single thing in their power to re-sign this man before WrestleMania 31. If not after. ASAP. Take a moment to think about what WWE would be like after WrestleMania without Brock Lesnar just in the mix with anyone. I can't even fathom that at all with the status of this company right now. So Brock Lesnar, if you're listening to this, I hope you actually are. If you're not, that's cool. Make sure you sign with WWE, because we're at a crossroads with this company right now where, the top tier talent, the baby faces and heels, they are few and far between the level of John Cena and everyone else. And we need someone like Brock Lesnar. And it's almost like Brock is so awesome that he is outshining Roman Reigns. But we'll discuss Roman Reigns later on in the show. Now, obviously, the crux of why I'm talking about Raw is Bray Wyatt. Now, Bray Wyatt is going to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. The Undertaker is fresh off a loss, his first ever loss at WrestleMania, to Brock Lesnar. We all went into WrestleMania 30 thinking that Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker was a foregone conclusion. That Brock Lesnar would be beaten and that he would become 22-0 at WrestleMania. And it didn't happen. And it's easily one of the most shocking things I've ever witnessed as a pro wrestling fan. It almost felt like that was the end of the old era. The streak is over and now we're into this new era where, who knows what WWE is going to build up next. Now, we all know that WrestleMania 32 is going to be in Dallas, Texas. And we all know that The Undertaker comes from Texas. They're going to be in, I think, the biggest arena that they've ever been in for WrestleMania come next year. The time in between now and supposedly The Undertaker's retirement, which is going to happen in Texas, I think is the most perfect opportunity for a Bray Wyatt to step up as WWE's new face of fear, the way he's been built at the past few months. Why not give him a win at WrestleMania? Why do we have to reestablish The Undertaker straight away? Why don't we have 2 years of The Undertaker, on the losing end at WrestleMania? And make the fans really question, is this the absolute last time that we're ever going to see The Undertaker? Obviously, the way the match is going to pan out and the finish to that match is definitely up in question if Bray Wyatt wins. If he wins, is it going to be a simple just pin 1, 2, 3 job? Or is Bray Wyatt going to eviscerate The Undertaker and completely take over the mantle as the new face of fear? If you're thinking outside one show, I would definitely have Bray Wyatt win. He's going to be there the longest. Everyone said that he was going to be the next Undertaker. He definitely has the most eeriness attached to his character and his aura. Why not invest in him in San Jose in a week's time? Give him that big win. Give him that solidifying win. And then continue your story into Dallas, Texas, and say, is The Undertaker completely over? Right there, you have the seeds for an amazing final retirement match, in which obviously he gets his win back and leaves and rides off into the sunset with his head held high. Why not do that, What do you guys think? I think the Bray Wyatt's time is right now and shouldn't have just been built up to lose to The Undertaker. But obviously time will tell with that one. So that was Monday Night Raw. Definitely a lot of good points there that obviously I've ironed over. But you can, if you guys haven't checked it out, do check it out. It was a worthwhile show. And I'm looking forward to this week's Raw. Who would have thought? So NXT. Let's go straight into this week's NXT. And I tell you what, this show continues to look great and grow enormously. Think back to what this show was like about a year ago. It had a good basis. It was still feeling like a developmental territory, but now with the influxes of the Sami Zayns, the Kevin Owens, the Adrian Nevilles, and a lot of those long-time talents have risen to the foreground of the company. Adrian Neville being one of them, actually. There's so much to look forward to. And I really felt them taking the show to Ohio at the Arnold Classic was a fantastic exclamation mark in the career of this great brand that Triple H has created. For those who've watched the show, how can you not agree with me? Those video packages of Charlotte, of the NXT Tag Team Champions, Kevin Owens interacting with fans, having Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair at the Arnold Classic, putting over the talent, singing the praises of Triple H, finding this amazing idea and concept and making it to where it is now. So much, like those video packages of them out and about at the Arnold Classic just made them feel like so major league, and I'm so happy to see this brand continue to grow. As Triple H says, it will always be a developmental brand, but as long as you keep making it the place to have your indie wrestlers come in and out, there's so much to look forward to. And I thought the show was a fun show, and I loved how everyone got to shine in the show too. I mean, you had Kalisto versus Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze is easily one of the most underrated talents in the entire WWE, because obviously NXT is still a part of the WWE brand. He is so good. He reminds me of a early 90s Shawn Michaels, that cocky, sexy boy, whiny heel. I just think his character is fantastic. There's still a lot to grow, and I think he's still on that road of finding himself, but he's definitely on the way, and his wrestling's fantastic. His selling's great. But the reason I bring up this match is that, Kalisto is a tag team wrestler, and he will be destined for big things, I believe, in 2015. If there's anyone that's going to replace him, replace Rey Mysterio, it's going to be Kalisto. I think he's definitely this age's Rey Mysterio. But he's a tag team wrestler. He comes to wrestle Tyler Breeze. Now, if it was traditional WWE wrestling, he'll have 1-2 hope spots, and then Tyler Breeze would just squash him. This is NXT, where we think ahead, not within one show. We think where we're going to take Kalisto from here on out after the Lucha Dragons separate. Well, we want to start building him up, so they give him enough stuff to make him look fantastic. And of course, Tyler Breeze wins because he's a single competitor, but Kalisto looks amazing. Always thinking ahead, this brand. It's fantastic. And another thing about the NXT show on the road at the Arnold Classic was 90% of these matches all had a mini TV storyline attached to them. Kevin Owens versus Alex Riley had the whole situation with Riley coming out from the commentary desk. Alexa Bliss, picked up a win and then called out the champion last week, and then that leads to Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss at the event. Big Cass, wrestling. I think it was Wesley Blake, and that advancing the storyline in that way. Everything has a point. It's not just matches thrown together for no reason. This is fantastic. This is how every show should be. It should always have some kind of substance, and NXT gets that. And then to cap it off, we got Kevin Owens. Now, I haven't been the biggest advocate for Kevin Owens since he won the NXT Championship. I haven't seen very much of him in the ring. I heard a few of his promos since winning the championship, and I haven't really been blown away by his work. And I think the problem has been he hasn't been that comfortable. Oh my God, Kevin Steen just came into NXT and won the championship within a month or a month and a bit of being with the company. So there's a lot of pressure added to him, and I think it's taken a while for him to find himself. But it was only on this show where I really felt, okay, this is Kevin Owens. This is the guy that I want to see and that I've heard about. He just nailed his character to perfection in this match against Alex Riley. He was the biggest bully. He was just the most cockiest son of a bitch. And it's a shame that he was so over in Ohio, because anywhere else, if they had time to build up Riley as this sympathetic babyface, we might have seen a different side of him. But obviously Kevin Owens has got that backup and that indie career that everyone loves. But it was only in this match that I started realizing how good Kevin Owens is and how he's going to be for WWE in the future if they maintain what he's doing. Oh, just every little nuance, talking down to Alex Riley during the match, just get into his face and say, you can't beat me, this is the biggest mistake of your life, following through with the storylines that have been presented week in and week out, and paying them off in the match. Why do pro wrestlers have to be quiet in matches? They should be, the heel should be bad-mouthing the babyface when he's got him down, and this all culminated into, obviously, Kevin Owens winning like he should. Good booking straight away. Finn Balor coming out to defend Alex Riley when he was down. And to cap off everything, we had Kevin Owens scurry away the minute Finn Balor got a bit of offense. And as he's leaving, and as he passes a downed Alex Riley, he kicks him in the gut just for shits and giggles. I love it. This is a heel, you want to hate this guy. And by the end of it, to Kevin Owens' credit, he got those fans booing. And that's a testament to turning the crowds here in 2015 and manipulating to what he wants. And, kudos to him. I hope we see more of this side of Kevin Owens in the future, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he matures his character in the coming weeks. And obviously, this ties into what I want to talk about in regards to pro wrestling injuries. Now, unfortunately, Kevin Owens is out of the NXT live show that I will be going to at WrestleMania weekend. That's a definite blow to the show. He's had his knee scoped, and I think he's out for 4 to 6 weeks. So he's going to miss the WrestleMania weekend portion of what WWE does in San Jose. But he'll still be there, which is great. But the point I want to try and make is that Kevin Owens is out. But the good thing is that he's got a whole roster full of main event level stars that can replace him. NXT's lucky because they work on a 1 hour show every week. So the roster gets cycled in and cycled out. So your Adrian Nevilles, your Finn Balor's, your Sami Zayn's, your Rhinos, all those kind of top tier talent can keep fresh. We don't have time to shove everyone on one show. And that's the strength of NXT. We can have Kevin Owens just do promos because there's enough depth in the roster to cover it. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, Jey Uso, I think, tweaked his knee as well. And didn't tweak his knee. I think he suffered a severe tear. And he's going to be out of WrestleMania completely. Which is a damn shame for the supposed 4-way match that they had planned involving Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, the Los Matadores, and the New Day. With the Usos out, there's no real tag team division to talk of, which I think is just shows you the need for depth in WWE's main roster. Why is the Usos established here, baby faces? Because they've rubbed shoulders with main event talent. Remember the rivalry between the Wyatts and the Usos, and how that tied into John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. And the Usos were associated with main event talent all the way through 2014. They won a ton of tag team championships. And what more can you say? They're a credible tag team. But the thing is that they've given no time to let teams like Kidd and Cesaro develop the same level of credibility. I think what's going to happen come after WrestleMania is that Kid and Cesaro are just going to give the tag team titles to another team for the hell of having a title change on one show. Again, it ties into that whole, well, we want to keep the fans happy for one show and not think long term. If you think about the main event roster system that is currently in play in WWE, if John Cena gets injured, who the hell can replace John Cena on the main event roster? Who can match him in regards to star power? No one. Randy Orton is like a distant second. He's a great wrestler, but he doesn't have the personality or the heat to kind of carry a brand. I'm talking carry a brand like John Cena. Can you imagine if like John Cena destroys his leg beyond comparison in a motorcycle accident or a car accident outside wrestling? What would WWE do? And, like in the past where Cena has unfortunately torn his pectoral muscle, you've had your HBKs, your Triple H's, your Undertakers, your Batistas to fall back on, because those are all established stars that have gone through that rigorous climb to WWE megastardom. Right now you have Brock Lesnar, who they can't afford to keep on full time, and for Brock Lesnar's aura, that's kind of good. But Roman Reigns after WrestleMania as the face of the company? Are you kidding me? Like, it's still an eggshell situation, and like one guy, Roman Reigns, has been given the chance to grow, but who else? Daniel Bryan is easily the hottest guy in the company, and we're going to chat about his supposed role at WrestleMania in a little bit in the Quintessential podcast. But his star is dwindling now because of his association with a stagnant division in the Intercontinental Championship division. They need to invest in these new stars, and I know it's not an old topic that I'm talking about, but they've got to do it. Take a chance and stay behind someone, and not give it a month and a half and then just throw your hands up in frustration. Injuries can be managed, as you can see in NXT, but at the same time, when it comes to injuries, they can play an absolutely crippling role if the promotion is not prepared for it. And currently, WWE is still at that level where they're not prepared of it. In the last 4 years, we've lost your Ric Flairs, we've lost your Shawn Michaels. We're about to lose your Undertakers. What's going to happen at WrestleMania? What's going to be the draw for WrestleMania now without the Undertaker? The streak's gone, but what about no more Undertaker, period? WWE's got a lot of growing pains that they've still got to get through, and injuries can still cripple such a brand. Speaking of WrestleMania, I wanted to talk about big matches and the builds to big matches. Because every time we think about WrestleMania, well, as far as I'm concerned, I always associate WrestleMania with big matches that people care about and that people remember. Now, why is WrestleMania associated with such big matches? Well, it's always the culmination of history between combatants. Look at The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. WrestleMania 15, 17, and 19. They had this history between each other that transcended and defined a generation of pro wrestling that is always looked back on in such fondness, and then you have the themes that are always attached to these big match builds. The jealousy between HBK and Michaels from WrestleMania 19. There's always, some of them has such blood feuds, like these are legitimately violent beefs that need to be settled, such as the Undertaker and Kane from WrestleMania 13, Mick Foley versus Edge in that hardcore match from WrestleMania 22, whereas others like Austin Rock, John Cena, HBK from WrestleMania 23, and HBK and Angle from 21, it's all about the spirit of competition. Who's better? Who's got the credentials that should lead them to victory? I love the build for HBK and Angle. I wrote an article for Pro Wrestling Powerhouse, because we're covering every single WrestleMania, and I got WrestleMania 21, and I got to rewatch one of my favorite matches of all time, and it was HBK versus Kurt Angle. And that match was all about two guys that have the accolades, the pedigree, and the credentials that make him easily the greatest wrestlers of all time. They're up there. The first time meeting, who's going to get on top, and let's just get them in the ring and see who's better. And that's the simple thing about this business that I love. And also, these big match builds, they always have been given time to grow. I mean, look at Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage from WrestleMania 5. They took a whole year for Savage to win the championship, become uber jealous of his relationship with Miss Elizabeth and the WWE Championship. And then we watch this jealousy just tear apart the mega powers, Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, to the point where Savage accused Hogan of wanting his championship and wanting his woman, and obviously that led to the biggest blow-off in WrestleMania history, and one of the best told stories in WrestleMania history between Hogan and Savage. And it's got its detractors, but The Rock and John Cena was the same kind of thing. But they took 2 years to develop a story, and the payoff was easily some of the highest grossing WrestleManias of all time. You can't argue with that, so it obviously worked. And at the same time, these matches had an incredible payoff. Because, sometimes it was the culmination of a multi-year career. Look at Chris Benoit winning the World Championship at WrestleMania 20. And some of the combinations was completely shocking. Whether you liked it or not, Austin turning heel at WrestleMania 17 was one of the most shocking events that I remember as a child. And I still remember it. That happened in 2001. What I'm trying to get at is that you need all these elements to kind of work in key. NXT, I think, has nailed it and shown that they can do it on that level between Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville, and back in 2014 with that storyline of Adrian Neville being a long-reigning champion, Sami Zayn always being that nice guy that doesn't have that killer instinct, that he's put up in the situation where he's got to retire if he doesn't win the NXT championship. I mean, look at Impact. They showed last week that they can nail it in regards to a big match feel and a build that complements that with Rockstar Spud and EC3. They had an incredible battle that told the multi-month storyline that they've been doing between these two. It was fantastic. Now we look at Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, and you kind of had to put it in the fail category. I mean, why? I mean, look at Roman Reigns. His babyface stature is almost neutral. He doesn't get cheered. He doesn't get booed. He just gets that mixed reaction. Now, they've had plenty of time to build up Roman Reigns to being this juggernaut. And, I'm sure WWE think they're doing an amazing job. But I'm listening to the crowds every single week. And I know what crowds are going to be like at WrestleMania 31. They're going to tear Roman Reigns apart. It's almost borderline embarrassing. Now, unless they have some kind of money promo or money angle that they're going to shoot next week on Raw, it's going to be the same. You've rushed Roman Reigns to the stature. Whereas in previous years, they've given so much time and let things mature in regards to storylines. They've rushed Roman Reigns from being a singles competitor halfway through last year to now being rushed into the main event of WrestleMania. Now, he's doing the best job he can, but in regards to a big match feel and a big match build, it doesn't even come close. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting time when I'm going to be sitting in the 20th row from the front at WrestleMania 31 and watching this match play out. The crowd is going to be interactive as hell, but when it comes to big match feel, you can't even compare WrestleMania 31's main event to everything else. So there is still hope in regards to the spirit of competition. I mean, they've been selling the fact that Roman Reigns wants to win the WWE Championship, that he can beat Brock Lesnar, and there's that competitive kind of element to the storyline, which is good. But every other aspect, it feels lost and it feels out of place. But time will tell to see if they're actually going to nail this, or it's going to be one of the more forgettable main events in WrestleMania history. It's definitely up in the air. They've got one more show to do it. WWE, show us what you got. Now, before we go to the break, I want to give you a rundown of what to expect from Wrestling's Rope Break on WrestleMania weekend, which is less than a week away. Yep, on Thursday. It all starts next week. A whole schedule of shows from Thursday all the way to Monday, covering everything WrestleMania. Get ready, guys. It's going to be an absolute chock-a-block weekend full of content here on Wrestling's Rope Break. So it all starts Thursday. We're going to be doing a Evolve 39 pay-per-view wrap-up, which is pretty much like a combination of Dragon Gate plus a lot of other independent wrestlers coming together, putting on a show for us to kick off WrestleMania weekend. Drew Galloway is going to be there. PJ Black, the former Justin Gabriel from WWE, he's going to be there. Chris Hero, Johnny Gargano, one of the greatest independent pro wrestlers out there. I've seen him on many, many Dragon Gate shows. Every time I've been to WrestleMania, he's a sight to be seen, and I can't wait to see him in action again. And on the same night, we're going to be doing a WrestleMania history night. We're just going to be wrapping up some of the best moments and angles, matches that we remember from WrestleMania history to kind of kick off WrestleMania weekend. And then we ease into Friday. We're going to be doing a Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor 9 plus an NXT live event, complete recap. I'm going to somehow be live at both shows. I have to leave Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor halfway through the show and then travel about an hour's drive back into San Jose to catch the NXT live show. NXT Live, ladies and gentlemen, WrestleMania weekend, the international crowd, 5,000 fans strong in that arena to watch NXT. That is going to be incredible, and we're going to give you a complete exclusive live report from that show that night. Me and Aaron are going to break down Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor as well. Then we go to Saturday. This is going to be an absolute mega show, if I've ever heard one. We have 3 events and 1 day to cover, so it's going to be a main event madness with John Curry and myself and Aaron, the Mastermind Ramadanov, talking WWE Fan Access, JR's one-man show that he's going to be doing in the afternoon, plus the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We're going to be giving our thoughts from a television perspective as well as a live perspective. Plus, we may be having some interviews with Dave Meltzer and Jim Ross. So something definitely to look forward to on the Saturday night show. It's going to be a massive couple of hours of pro wrestling audio. Then we've got Sunday. WrestleMania Sunday. It's going to be another massive show. We're going to be doing a complete breakdown of WrestleMania 31 live straight after the WrestleMania 31. We're going to do a wrap-up. We're going to do some predictions of what's going to happen the next night on Raw. So much to look forward to. And then we're going to cap it off with a post-WrestleMania Raw wrap-up with myself, Aaron the Mastermind Ramadanov, and PWP's Crazy Bill Shannon. We're going to be doing a 3-way conversation, breaking down all the segments and the matches, what we thought of WrestleMania weekend, and what we thought of the post-WrestleMania Raw. It was exhausting for me just to go through that whole list, so I can only imagine what it's going to be like in less than a week, starting on Thursday and going all the way to Monday, WrestleMania weekend with Wrestling's Rope Break. It's going to be incredible. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we return, we're going to get into the quintessential podcast with Jim Ross interviewing Jim Cornette. So stay with us.
WrestleMania weekend. Stick right here to Main Event Madness, WrestlingNewsReport.com, and Wrestling-News.net for your latest news, rumors, and results from everything happening WrestleMania week. Also, don't miss an exclusive 2015 Hall of Fame recap show and WrestleMania 31 postgame show. Our wrestling, your WrestleMania, simply madness. Spreaker.com/show/Main Event Madness will be the place to check these shows out.
Okay, we're back. Now, as you can tell, Main Event Madness is going to be in full force for WrestleMania weekend, just like Wrestling's Rope Break. Now, if you want to stay in touch with us for WrestleMania weekend, the best way to do it is 2 ways. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Wrestling's Rope Break. We're going to have a huge list of videos, photos. I'm going to be doing an article series, which I'm going to mention later on in the show, plus all the updates, all the rumors that are coming out, and of course, links to all our shows. So facebook.com/Wrestling's Rope Break. Plus, stay in touch with us on Twitter at Wrestling R Break. That's capital W, capital R, capital B, Wrestling's Rope Break. And follow us and follow Main Event Madness on Spreaker. For all the shows, plus, again, the pictures, the videos. I'm going to be doing a ton of social media all during the weekend. Best to stay in touch via Facebook, facebook.com/Wrestling's Rope Break, and Twitter at Wrestling Art Break. That's the best ways to stay in touch with Main Event Madness and Wrestling's Rope Break. So the quintessential podcast this week, we're going to be obviously going back to our old favorite, The Ross Report, by the great Jim Ross, which I'm going to have the pleasure of meeting at WrestleMania weekend after his show. I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about meeting the one man that encouraged me to be the wrestling fan I am today. So it's going to be incredible. But for the meantime, he had a great interview, Jim Ross, with the infamous Jim Cornette, former manager of the Midnight Express, NWA alumni, Smoky Mountain booker, and of course WWE alumni, talking about the business, taking a very much of an old school perspective on pro wrestling as it is today. And I've always said there's so much to learn from pro wrestling history that could benefit current pro wrestling standards, and these two do not disappoint in their near 2-hour conversation. We're going to take 2 excerpts out today, and the first excerpt that I want to talk about is Jim Cornette's idea of how Daniel Bryan should have been booked leading up to WrestleMania 31. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are just saying, Joel, get over it. Daniel Bryan is where he is. But hey, I'm not going to settle for mediocrity if I see it on my television screen when it comes to pro wrestling, and it seems like Jim Cornette and JR agree with me. So have a listen to Jim Cornette's plan for what Daniel Bryan should have been doing for WrestleMania 31.
Since they knew the obvious problems, it would seem to me that the only way that they can get their guy over is by having the guy the fans want to be over somehow endorse that guy, meaning Daniel Bryan has to endorse Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And my suggestion would have been Daniel Bryan doesn't go in the Rumble. Roman Reigns wins the Rumble because he doesn't get hijacked because Daniel Bryan's not in it to begin with, and then send Daniel Bryan out to the ring, and they have the stare down. And Daniel Bryan just says, we got to talk. And Reigns, being the badass, says, not now. And Daniel Bryan says, when? And Roman Reigns says, tomorrow. And Daniel Bryan turns around and walks off. What's going to happen on Raw?
Yeah.
And then they announce that they've had their talk. And Daniel Bryan says, we both got a problem. I've been out for a year. I don't know if I can still be the best wrestler in the world, and if I can't be the best, I don't want to do this at all. I'm not in shape right now to be 100%. He's got a problem. He's a Samoan badass, but he's a rookie. And Brock Lesnar's been on top for 15 years, UFC champion, WWE champion. He knows the tricks. He's used to the big matches. Mm-hmm. But this guy's younger, and I think he may be stronger, and he's definitely faster. So I've got a solution. Bryan agrees to train Roman Reigns for the world title match at WrestleMania against Lesnar. All the MMA he's studied, all the wrestling around the world he's done. He's a veteran. Mm-hmm. He's the trainer. Reigns is the beast that soaks it up. But in training him, Daniel Bryan will either get in the best shape he's ever been, or he'll know that he can't do it at all. And the payoff is, if Reigns wins at WrestleMania, Daniel Bryan gets the first title shot.
Now, right there is an incredible story where, Roman Reigns gets that rub, increases his knowledge and skill set in the ring because he's got Daniel Bryan probably legitimately training him. It makes sense. It ties in everything that Brock Lesnar stands for inside WWE and outside WWE. And Daniel Bryan is continually associated with the main event picture. And you have something to look forward to after WrestleMania, that being a championship match between Reigns and Daniel Bryan. And right there is an incredible story. Like, it is so important to nurture main event talent here in 2015. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Daniel Bryan is there. Now, why you would have him associated with the Intercontinental Championship in a multi-man match where he's completely lost in the shuffle, like he has been for the last few weeks, is absolutely beyond me. The man has organically grown his stature in WWE. He was easily the most over superstar, currently still is the most over superstar in WWE, and he's done it in spite of the booking strategies that WWE has had. He's won a world championship. He was never given a proper run with that world championship, and now because he injured himself and because he has a series of neck injuries, they've just lost faith in him. That is so ridiculously short-sighted. It's not funny. If you don't want Daniel Bryan to be the main event guy, that's fine. I'm fine with that. But the fact that he should be a Randy Orton-esque character. He should be at that level. Now, unless they've got plans for the Intercontinental Championship and the US Championship involving Daniel Bryan and John Cena, they should be thinking of some other way to take Daniel Bryan and utilize Daniel Bryan. Because right now, if you look at the ladder match that's going to happen at WrestleMania 31, it's going to be a great match. No doubt about it. This talent pool in that ring is fantastic. But what do you do with Daniel Bryan after WrestleMania 31? I hope they have a plan, and I hope that it involves the main event, because they just be absolutely shooting themselves in both feet if they decide and think that Daniel Bryan is not worthy of being in that position. So, if Jim Cornette can create an idea like this on the toilet, surely WWE with their 26 writers can give Daniel Bryan another chance at a shot, maybe not even a shot at the championship, but being associated with that WWE championship for the rest of his career. So let's move into the final excerpt that I want everyone to listen to. Cornette and JR have a really good chat about the importance of wins and losses. Yes, we're back on that wins and losses bandwagon that I want to drill home, 1 week out of Mania. And finishes and seeing some foresight beyond one match on one show. So let's have a listen.
I heard this when I went to Tokyo, that the top guys in the match, the 3 top matches at the Tokyo Dome, had not lost since August. This was January. They'd been involved in some tags, but as far as the big singles matches, the big focal points of the shows, the G1s and all this other stuff, nobody figured in those matches had lost. So the booker had done a hell of a job getting everybody ready for their roles in those top 3 matches.
Oh, okay, answer this question. Do you ever remember in the history of wrestling a guy getting over as a main event talent, as a star, without winning the vast majority of his matches and losing very few when he was being established?
No. Of course not.
Well, then why do they think it's going to be different all of a sudden?
The funny thing, we talked earlier about the Japanese deal. They didn't have any disqualifications. They had no countouts. Every match had a finish. And no matter who you were, or who was going over, if you're going to go over, you're going to go over the best you got.
Well, and imagine that. When you rely on, and I used to use DQs when I'd been Smokey Mountain or in OVW, because that's a tool in the wrestling toolbox that used to be able to be used to draw money, but it's been so overdone by everybody.
It means nothing.
That now it means nothing anymore, so it's another, tool we've taken out of our toolkit. Judiciously, there's nothing wrong with it, especially creatively, but for the most part, because other people have prostituted it, you got to just stay away from it.
Yeah, I agree. And I just don't see the logic. If you're really a good booker, it's like, did you ever book a match? I'm sure we both have book matches, but I generally had a pretty good idea. And I know yours a different level than me. Did you ever book a match where you absolutely said, okay, I'm going to book this match. It's a very important match on my card. It's the main event, or it's going to lead to something bigger, but I have no idea what we're going to do in the finish.
No, you don't book a match unless you know the finish.
Exactly. And I don't understand people giving ideas, people providing, here's an idea, okay, what's the finish? Oh, I don't know, but I just thought it was a good match. Well, yeah, okay.
And see, now we got to explain to some people, we're not just talking about the finish being who's going to win and who's going to lose or whatever, what the ruling is, what goes in the record book, as they say.
Right.
But actually how it's accomplished so that you don't hurt either guy and you get the point across that you want to get across, so the actual finish.
So who would have thought that a lot of the wrestlers in Japan, and the top tier wrestlers like your Tanahashis and Okadas and all that stuff, some of them only lost like once or twice in singles competition. And funnily enough, when they actually stepped in the ring and had those main event matches, at Wrestle Kingdom 9 at the start of the year and other big shows after that, people cared. People were invested. People paid to see who was going to win. I always think that pro wrestling should always be looking ahead in time. It should be a business that always wonders what next week will bring, what next month will bring, where we want these guys to be in a year. And such companies like New Japan Pro Wrestling continually show that formula works. And it just comes back to my idea of wins and losses. Wins and losses mean so much. No promotion out there, be it WWE, be it NXT, be it TNA, be it Lucha Underground, ROH, they should all emphasize the fact that wins and losses are absolutely, utterly key in developing stars. Listen to what Cornette just said. Of all the main event talent that we remember in all the years of pro wrestling that most of us have watched, can you ever remember a guy that went to the top of the WWE or wherever promotion's totem pole by losing and continuing not being pushed as a legitimate threat or a main event talent? No, it always has to attach itself to wins and losses. Look at Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has lost to the Big Show. He's lost to Seth Rollins. He's lost. He's had counter losses on the way to WrestleMania. And this is a man that is struggling to connect with audiences. He is a simple character. He's a Samoan badass that's got a chip on his shoulder, just like Heyman has said. Why can't they just promote him like another Brock Lesnar? Why can't they have him just mow down talent, go into rings, destroy people, and take names, and not go through these matches where he's selling for like 75% of the time, and then losing like in DQs? DQs should always service a storyline or play a part. It shouldn't just be a throwaway mechanism of a match that just finishes a match on television after the 4-minute mark, because we don't really have an intuitive way of ending a match. It's ridiculous. Look at The Shield. Now look at Rusev. These are two characters and two concepts in recent WWE history where it blatantly shows that WWE knows what to do. The Shield were undefeated for at least a year and a half. They beat every single 6-man combination that came up ahead of them. Sure, individually they lost some matches here and there, and that's fine, but as a unit, as a team, they were unstoppable, and they were easily the greatest creation of recent WWE history. Now Rusev, probably the second hottest heel in the company. Yes, you could put it towards the foreign gimmick, but again, he has never submitted, he's never been pinned. He's always been put over strongly as an absolute beast, an agile, athletic super athlete. And now he's in a marquee match at WrestleMania against John Cena, and he feels like he belongs. Why? Because wins and losses matter. Why shouldn't that transcend to the rest of the roster? I'm sick and tired of old school wrestling techniques and psychology being almost a gimmick attached to certain ideas and concepts in 2015. It should be a completely holistic experience on WWE television, on TNA, on Lucha Underground, on all these major pro wrestling promotions that are on primetime television. It's the way it should be. And continuously as we get, we move away from the era that I grew up in, it seems like we're moving away from traditional pro wrestling. But we'll bring it out when we need to for weeks like WrestleMania. It's a bit of a worry, but obviously we'll see what happens with WrestleMania after WrestleMania. Will anything change? I don't think so, but it's always good to remember what history used to be like and why we remember history so fondly, and why current history is a bit of a worry. Now, before we get into our Why at Work section, I also want to promote the fact that I'm going to be doing a WrestleMania Road Diary series for ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com. Now, I've been writing for Pro Wrestling Powerhouse for almost a year, and I'm going to be doing a day-by-day Wrestling Road Diary entry, just kind of dictating where I am in San Jose, the fans that I run into, the potential wrestlers that I have a chance to interview. Just a nice, short 500-piece every single day that you can look on the WrestleMania section of Pro Wrestling Powerhouse. We're going to throw some videos, some pictures in there, so that's another way to check out what I'm going to be up to and what Wrestling Rope Break is up to on WrestleMania weekend. It's going to be a fun little series, and if you like just short, concise articles that just give you an idea of the feel of WrestleMania weekend, definitely check out my WrestleMania Road Diary series on ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com. Also, you can find it on Facebook.com/Wrestling'sRopeBreak. So why it worked. So this is a series where we take an angle, a finish, a sequence of moves in a match. We take something out of pro wrestling that is fondly remembered, and we talk about why it worked. I wanted to focus on a segment that really encapsulates a great build towards a money-making WrestleMania match. And the one that comes to mind this week was the WWE No Way Out 2008 appearance of the returning Big Show. Now, for those who don't remember, the Big Show returned to the company in 2008 after a brief hiatus and got himself into a ridiculously great shape. He lost tons of weight, he looked great, and this was the catalyst of an amazing angle that set off the Big Show versus Floyd Money Mayweather, the American boxing legend that will be boxing Manny Pacquiao in the coming months. He had for those who don't remember, he actually had a match against the Big Show at WrestleMania. And while the match was what it was, the angle that kickstarted this program was nothing but pure pro wrestling joy, as far as I remember. Now, why did it work? Well, you had a great misdirection, as I said. You had the Big Show coming out, showing off his weight like a baby face. You can't get behind someone who's lost all that weight and looks fantastic and so happy and positive. But then he kind of, you think it's going one way, and unfortunately, Rey Mysterio was just about to leave the ring after his match, and Big Show attacked him, just bullied him, choked him, turned heel immediately. So the fans were outraged. Obviously, when a fan's emotions is toyed with in that way, the natural reaction is to boo. So there was a great counterbalancing of babyface Big Show with heel Big Show. Another reason why it worked was the fact that the celebrity that was eventually involved in this angle had great credibility himself. Now, for those who don't remember, Floyd Money Mayweather was ringside because they were in Las Vegas for No Way Out that year, and Floyd was tempted by Big Show to come in the ring, and the crowd knew exactly what Floyd Mayweather was all about, the boxing legacy that he already had, and he stepped in the ring with Big Show, and the heat was on. You could definitely feel legitimately excited about this confrontation because, everyone that Floyd's touched, he's knocked out. It didn't really matter if you're 7 foot or 5 foot, he's done it. So you definitely had that credibility of shit could definitely go down if I could be so bold. And the final climax of this segment is the ultimate realism behind the final shot of what happened. Now, for those who haven't seen it, which you can check it out on YouTube, Floyd legitimately breaks the Big Show's nose after Big Show tempts him to take a shot at him. Breaks his nose and then piss bolts out of the ring with his entourage. You had this really great climax of the punch breaking Big Show's nose with the WWE officials facing off against Floyd's entourage. It definitely felt like this wasn't scripted. Obviously, it was, but the breaking of Show's nose blurred those lines that make those hot angles hot. And there was so much talk on mainstream media, within the WWE itself, within pro wrestling fans, of course. There was so much talk about what happened with Floyd Mayweather on the Big Show, and it was a definite highlight of that show and the lead up to WrestleMania 24, which was a bit of a mixture when the match was all said and done, but I always remember the hot angle between Floyd Mayweather and the Big Show. So if you want to check that out on YouTube, by all means, check it out. It's the first page that you check out if you type in WWE No Way Out, Floyd Mayweather attacks the Big Show. So that's WWE No Way Out, Floyd Mayweather attacks the Big Show. Check out the first video, an awesome angle to kickstart a memorable WrestleMania match. Well, that's all we have time for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me wherever you may be out there. The next time I'm going to be gracing you with my presence, it's going to be with Aaron the Mastermind Ramadanov, and I'm going to be recording live from San Jose, California, the location for WrestleMania 31. We're kickstarting WrestleMania weekend, like we said, on Thursday, 26th of March next week. And we're going to be doing daily shows all the way up to WrestleMania and afterwards. So much to look forward to. Thank you so much for listening to this show, and I'll be seeing you at WrestleMania 31 on Thursday next week. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for downloading Wrestling's Rope Break. Want to keep up to date with future episodes of the show? Answer our weekly questions, interact with Joel or Aaron, or just go somewhere to discuss good old pro wrestling. It's easy. Start by following us on Twitter at WrestlingRBreak, Then like us on Facebook at facebook.com/wrestlingsropebreak. Finally, bookmark and visit our website at www.wrestlingsropebreak.weebly.com. Wrestling's Rope Break. Everything pro wrestling by the count of 5. We will see you next week.